Welcome back to another edition of the Gadget Lab podcast. I am Michael Calori.
I'm Christina Bonington.
On today's show, we're going to talk a little bit about the brand new Apple tablet. Maybe you've heard of it. It's called the iPad. And then later on in the second half, we're going to bring on Nathan Hurst, and he's going to show off some badass gadgets. But first and foremost, you have in front of you
the iPad 3 2S HD. No, just the iPad. It's just the iPad.
Just iPad? Why didn't they call it the iPad 3?
That's a good question. I mean, the MacBook, Apple TV, a whole bunch of other lines don't have any sort of number at the end of them. So I guess they're just getting back to their roots.
Just the new one.
Yeah.
So the big thing is what? The screen, right?
It is.
Is that screen. The big thing?
It is the big thing. Retina display, 2048 by 1536. It looks very nice. Things like Flipboard, photographs.
What about HD movies?
Yeah, that looks great too. Watching video.
Did you did you download the new episode of Mad Men off of BitTorrent and watch it in high definition on your new iPad?
Of course not.
Okay, then you're doing it wrong. But I guess that it really does sort of raise the question of like what can Apple do next? And
right.
In our review and in some of your coverage, I know that question has been raised because that was the big thing that everybody was expecting. Well, okay.
4G.
We should also say 4G and the new camera.
Yes, which it takes better pictures, but it doesn't make taking pictures with an iPad any less awkward.
Right. Yeah. You still look like a jerk.
Yeah. Holding
up this giant dinner tray, taking snaps of your kid run screaming instead of smiling at you.
Yeah,
they think
definitely.
They're going to get hit. So the screen is as sharp as the iPhone 4S now, right?
Yeah, just about. With the distance that you hold it from your face, they're both considered Retina display by Apple. The pixel density is actually a little bit less, but you hold an iPad, 15 to 18 inches from your face, and an iPhone you normally hold a little bit closer, 12 to 15 inches from your face.
Okay, so perceptibly, they're very, very similar.
Yes.
But functionally, they are. It's a huge improvement over the previous one.
Yeah. It looks nice. I mean, it's evolutionary, not revolutionary.
What did they say at the announcement? Resolutionary?
Resolutionary.
They caught a lot of heat for that. It was pretty bad, understandably. But as far as the innovations that they can put into the device from now, it's pretty limited, right?
Yeah, I mean, we could see something like haptic feedback, so when you touch it, there's a little bit of vibration. I kind of like smartphones that have that, so you touch the keys and you kind of feel that little bit of feedback when you're typing.
Yeah.
I kind of like it. I know you don't really care for that so much, right?
No, I prefer my devices to be silent and non-vibrating unless I tell them to. So I'm sure, if they were to put that in, it would be something they would let you turn off.
Yeah. I think it'll be cool when there's embedded projectors in our devices, but I think that's still a little ways down the road.
Yeah.
I mean, embedded projectors that so I can project something, maybe a keyboard onto a table, and I can type on that.
Oh yeah,
keyboard or something, so it's interactive.
We've seen that. We've seen people try to do that, and it's been a failure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been pretty bad. But the point is, next year's iPad is probably not going to be that much better than this iPad, but people will probably still rush out and buy it because a little bit better is just more desirable than last year's model.
Yeah, although a lot of people I talked to in the iPad line were actually upgrading from a first-gen iPad to third generation. It seems like a lot of people that had the iPad 2 are sticking it out for whatever next year has to offer.
Yeah, leapfrogging. People do that with phones. People do that with laptops, so it makes sense they would do it with their tablets. So what do you think? Would you recommend that somebody upgrade from a 2 to a 3 or from a 1 to a 3?
From a 2 to a 3, if you're a big Apple fan, I'd say go for it. But otherwise, I think you'd be fine waiting for next year. I definitely recommend upgrading if you have an iPad 1. If you have an original iPad, go ahead. You can sell it back to Amazon for $100 or $2, shave a little bit off the price, and
give it to the child in your life.
Yes, reuse it. Give it to a teacher, friend.
Or just keep it and remain a loser. It's totally up to you. Anyway, thanks, Christina. You'll probably be back next week with more exciting Apple news.
Always. always.
There's always exciting Apple news on the Gadget Lab show. Up next, we're going to bring on Nathan Hurst, and he's going to show us a flashlight and other things that can kill you. Okay, stop. What is that thing?
This is the LED Lenser. It is a particularly badass flashlight that shines with a force of 1,000 lumens.
1,000 lumens.
Yes.
That's a lot.
It is a lot. Although lumens is kind of a funny measurement because it doesn't account for how focused a light is. So there's really no way to compare how bright this is to say like a car headlight or something, other than to say it's just really bright.
It's about as bright as a very, very bright car headlight, I found.
It's from trying not to look directly at it, that's about what I've estimated.
So this is, how much does something like that cost?
This particular one is $500.
$500, and
Yes.
what does it hold? Does it hold like a bunch of what's D batteries or
D batteries, so they're easy to replace.
How many batteries?
4. There's 4 in here, and 7 very large LEDs on the front.
That's cool. So if those burn out, you just swap them in, or
I don't know if they're replaceable or not.
Oh, okay.
They must be.
for $500.
They better be.
Yeah, they better be. It's got substantial weight, so you could like beat people if you
Yeah,
wanted
this
to.
is really hefty.
Yeah. So this is the kind of thing that you would do probably like you would take with you to a rock concert if you're up in the nosebleeds, so you can see the stage a little bit better, or maybe like sit behind home plate during a baseball game and flash it at the visiting pitcher.
They might frown on that.
Yeah, maybe. So this is a badass item.
That it is. It's one of a number of badass items we've been featuring on the Gadget Lab blog.
You've been doing one a day, is that right?
Not quite one a day.
Oh,
Not quite one a day.
A few a week.
Yep, we'll have 3 or 4 this week, and one of them is actually this. This is our Gerber's MP DET 600 DET multi-tool. So it's a pair of pliers with a C4 punch. And
which is what a tool for preparing explosives.
Yes. Well, when I first looked at it, I didn't know what that was. I just wanted to. Who wouldn't want to punch C4, really? So that's what this part of the tool is.
That sort of spiky, pencil-y looking thing on the end.
Yes, it's really quite vicious.
Yeah. So other than that, I mean, it's also just an amazing multi-tool. It's got a bunch of different stuff for sawing through limbs or disemboweling rodents.
It's got a saw. It's got a knife. It's got a pair of pliers. It's got your typical multi-tool functions like screwdrivers and so on.
Yeah. So speaking of sharp, pencil-y pointing things, you've got one of my personal favorite badass gadgets for the month in your pocket. Now, it looks like a pen.
It is a pen.
It is a pen. However, the pen does not come out the pointy pen end. You actually have to unscrew it to get to the pen. The pointy pen end is sort of like a Kubotan or something. It's basically useful for gouging out somebody's eyeball.
Yeah, so I didn't know this, but they call them tactical pens, and tactical pens are actually a thing. You carry them around in your pocket in case you have to defend yourself, so you can go all Jason Bourne on somebody.
Right.
And they're made, they're mostly made of pretty substantial anodized aluminum. Mm-hmm. This one in particular is made by Smith & Wesson.
The gun people?
Yes, the gun people.
Well, I suppose it's a good thing, if you really need that old joke, like I can kill you with a ballpoint pen.
It's a ballpoint pen made to kill people with.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So I suspect that's something that you take with you whenever you go to the French Laundry, and maybe the sommelier recommends a bottle of wine that you find particularly offensive. You can, give them a new hole in the neck or something like that.
I wouldn't recommend it.
Oh, you wouldn't recommend it. Okay. Well, okay. Between your giant flashlight that can blind people, mm-hmm. Your tool, multi-tool that is also capable of preparing anti-personnel mines, and your pen that can kill people.
You might want to stay away from me.
Yeah, seriously. So what's coming up next on the badass gadgets list? Anything you can leak?
Well, we've got a gaming mouse that it's kind of a deep orange. It's all customizable, And
Is it weaponizable at all? I mean, that seems to be the theme here.
not really.
Not really? All right, boring. Find something else.
We're actually trying to get away from the
weapons. All
yeah.
right, that's smart. Because we all do practice nonviolence here at Wired. We are not quite pacifists. We do believe that there are certain times when violence is necessary.
Self-defense.
Self-defense, snooty sommeliers. However, most of the time we prefer just to do things like play video games and make jokes about hurting people.
Yes, but I really do like to operate on the principle of not that you could, or not that you should, but that you could.
But that you could. And on that note, you should join us next week for another edition of the Gadget Lab show. I'm Michael.
And I'm Nathan.
See you next time.